Virtual classes for performers. Welcome back to another Techstination interview. I'm Fred Fishkin. With us is Joe Lorenzo, a former children's casting director and founder of Society Performers Academy. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us what Society Performers Academy is, what you're all about.
So in 2017, I was like you said, former casting director and talent manager, and I decided to stop doing that and move into what's called the development side. And that's the beginning of an actor's career. That's that's when they decide, okay, well, let's take a class, or how do we get into this? And the parents, they start Googling and thinking, okay, do I need an agent? What do I do to get my kids started? So I started it, I started in person, and this was pre-COVID, and I opened studios, one in New Jersey, which is where I'm from, but I live in Los Angeles now, and the other one in Upland, California. And what we do is the kids come in with their parents. They have to audition to get into the program. We don't accept everybody. And their interests are acting, singing, dancing, modeling, whatever it may be. And we develop them and then market them to agencies or casting directors to then be put out into the world. But we start them in a training program first. A lot of kids or a lot of parents are like, well, I'll just get an agent. Well, it's not that easy. It's like, it's almost like walking into a hospital and being like, hey, I didn't go to college, but, can I operate on you kind of thing? So there's a process there, and the ones that are most successful are the ones that do the training and do the things that they're supposed to do. And so that's really what it is. It's just the development and the training and then putting them out there in the world and letting them fly.
What's the age range of people that you work with?
So we used to do 4 to 17, and because of almost everything is virtual right now, we switched in March of 2020 when I was pretty much early on of putting everybody online. There was other studios that actually reached out to me and said, how did you do it so fast? But so everything's virtual. So we do age 7 to 17 now virtually because the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds really struggle with it online. We've got some exceptional kids that are 6 years old right now online with us, but right now it's ages 7 to 17.
So how does this work? Kids are, I guess, fairly used to regular online schooling from last year.
By now, yeah.
Hopefully many of them are going to be back in person. We'll see how that goes. But tell us how this works.
Well, in New Jersey, you guys actually go back after Labor Day. California, they're already back. So they started going back last week and this week. So some of them are in person, and which is a blessing, and they're all loving it. And then some of them are hybrid, where it's a couple of days in, a couple of days out. For us, it's Tuesday through Saturday. They get to choose their classes based on the program that they're in. Most of their programs give them about 5 hours a week. And then they choose their classes based on their schedules that they're already, their school schedules and their extracurricular schedules and things like that. So they work around those. And then they get online. The classes are all only 1 hour long. Honestly, there's a singing class that's 2 hours, but anything longer than that, or the 1 hour, you're not really holding the kids' attention, especially because, like we said, they're still doing Zooms and other things for like primary school and whatnot. So they get online. We give them scripts ahead of time. They get online with us. And then our coaches, we have 13 coaches right now online. And their technique is all kind of the same, but it's, the biggest rule is that every kid gets to work, every kid gets feedback, every kid gets to do it again, because that's how they learn, obviously. It's not, just sort of watch and observe kind of thing. And they get scripts, and most of our scripts are from television and film, and they get to break down those scripts and build a character. And the kids really love it, honestly. I've got parents that have said to me, who knows if they'll ever make it on television? Who knows if they'll ever, they will ever do something in film? But their grades improved, and they're getting, they're raising their hand more in class now. They're going to the blackboard more. There's certain things, like over the years, I've been doing this 21 years now, and there's certain things that are valuable to parents, not just saying, oh, I've got to get my kid on a television show. It's other things that this business and training in this business and getting up and performing can, there's other doors that it can open for the kids. So that's really what the process of it is. They get online 1 hour a day. Some of them do a couple more hours in a day, but those are like the teens that can handle it. And they get on and they do their class, they get their feedback. And then from there, we have like agency showcases where I bring in agents and we do it coast by coast. We'll do New York and LA. It just depends on where they are. Some of the kids in Texas and things get, the split where they go on the coast. And then we do agency showcases. Those agents come and they watch them perform, they give them feedback, and then they decide if they want to work with any of them. We don't guarantee anybody anything as far as, oh, you're going to get an agent or, oh, you're going to get work. Nobody can guarantee that. You can't even guarantee that in any other business. You can go to college for 4 years and not guarantee that you get a fabulous job, but it increases your chances of getting a fabulous job. That's all we do.
So it helps to build self-confidence. Tell us about the challenges of doing this online, because there's someone like me, I envision, okay, the kids are working together, in a room, on a stage, interacting with each other. A lot of challenges because they're either up close on the camera or maybe too far away, and can they really interact with each other, that kind of thing.
It was something that I was worried about. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was in the beginning, it was like, how do we find that chemistry? Because that's a huge thing. And no matter what age you are. And when I talk about chemistry, I'm not talking about partnership type of relationship chemistry. That's a chemistry between if you have to play brother and sister, or if you have to play, mom and dad on whatever. And it's finding that chemistry. It's so much easier in person, I mean, that's sort of, it's just a given because there's an energy that's exchanged, but it's actually really working online. We keep the class sizes smaller. It's not, we're not throwing the spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. We want to make sure that it's about quality and not quantity, but a lot of castings are being done online now. A lot of chemistry reads instead of, like when you used to get to a certain level of, let's say Disney or Nickelodeon was going to book you for the job, but it's a large enough role, they do what's called a chemistry read. They'd bring you in with the other actor that they were considering for the other role and make sure that you guys have chemistry, because that's a thing in the entertainment industry anyway. It's like you could be on a show and then all of a sudden a guest star's coming in, and how does that guest star instantly have chemistry with that person who's been on the show for 10 years, right? So having said that, yeah, it's a little bit more challenging online, but it's not impossible. And a lot of casting directors and producers are finding they're not even holding office space anymore. They're not even holding their overhead. Their overhead expenses have gone down tremendously because they are doing everything on Zoom right now, and especially right now, people are kind of uneasy with this Delta variant that's coming around. They're kind of uneasy with, the vaccinations and things like that or whatever. And so people are still doing online. So it's very much prevalent. As much as everybody wants to get back to normal and be in person, which is, I think, what we're all working towards. My studios have kind of opened up a little bit in the last few months, maybe since May, but online is, I don't know. I really do think that it's the new wave because it's also created a space where casting directors can meet with somebody in Texas or Walla Walla, Washington, or Florida or whatever. You don't necessarily have to be right in Los Angeles or New York anymore. And it's opened up the pool of talent, really, that they can search, the entire nation and even Canada and things without having to actually be in that market in Los Angeles and New York, which is great.
And I guess you can have students from anywhere as well.
We do too, and we have them all over. We've got students from Hawaii and I've got a few from Canada. We try to stay right in the United States, but yeah, we have them at coast to coast everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Interesting thing in that creating content during the pandemic is obviously more difficult with people having to be cautious, et cetera, and sometimes be quarantined for extended periods of time. At the same time, the demand for new content by the public at large, trying to find something new to watch, for instance, is almost out of control. People are desperate, asking each other, what have you seen that's any good?
Yeah. Well, that was actually, it's interesting you say that, because in the beginning of it, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So I have friends who are agents, producers, casting directors, whatever. And it was a thing like everyone's home at the beginning of the pandemic, everyone's home. The entertainment industry was shut down completely. Nothing was producing, nothing. And so they were sort of going into the vault of, well, what do we have? Because now everybody's at home. We've got a captive audience, but we can't produce new content. But what can we put out there? So that was a bit challenging. And then when they were able to go back, I mean, the entertainment industry was shut down for months on end. I mean, how many months it was, I think at least 4. And, as soon as the productions were given the green light to go back, there was a few, like The Flash went back quickly, and then they shoot in Vancouver, Canada. But anyway, as soon as they were ready to go back, they shot episodes and content at a much more rapid speed because they were afraid, when is this going to get shut down again? When are we going to be in a situation where we can't produce again? So they shot content as quickly as possible. And right now, almost everything is back. Almost everything is producing. Almost everything is, you'll see a lot of new content coming up now in the fall season. So yeah, it was just a situation, like you said, the quarantining and the certain things. I think everybody's got it down to a science now, the testing and the studios now, which is a kind of a debate, and that's okay. Most of them are requiring vaccination status. The hard part about that is that the young kids, they're not eligible for vaccinations and things. So they're still part of the testing process and the quarantine process and that sort of thing, like you mentioned. So look, it's not impossible. Everyone's figuring it out. And so as long as you just kind of do what they ask and quarantine or get your negative COVID test or whatever it may be, and stay safe while you're shooting that production, everything will be fine and we'll continue to move forward.
Do you anticipate staying online with at least part of the business?
I'm not going to let that go. We actually really enjoy it. And some of my coaches, now are even in other markets. They moved out of Los Angeles. As we all know, there was a mass exodus from New York and Los Angeles and the expensive cities, because during COVID, when people weren't working or whatever, couldn't afford the rents. So they moved into other places, and we're absolutely 100% going to keep the online, because we created a nice little jewel box of something that people really enjoy. Their kids, look, yes, a lot of parents and kids really want to be back in person, but the person in Texas or the person in New Mexico, or the person in where they wouldn't necessarily have access to the entertainment industry, now that they do with us, they love it. So no, it's not going away. No matter what, no matter how many in-person things I do, the online will stay.
There are a lot of parents who dream of having their children on a TV show or in a movie or something, and a lot of kids too, I suppose. So what do you tell them?
Well,
what do you look for? You said there's an audition process.
Well, we could smell the parent that wants it, even online. We can smell that a mile away. When the parent wants it more than the kid, and that's not necessarily the person that we want to work with, because the kid's kind of going to be like, and not really want to do it. And if that's going to be the attitude that they're going to take, they're not going to be successful. And no matter what they do, if they don't want to do soccer and their kids, but dad did soccer, and so they're forcing them to do it, they're not going to excel at it because it's not something that they really want to do. What we tend to find is we get the kids that, we get a lot of the girls that are dancer, they've been dancing since they were 4 years old and all that kind of stuff. But we get the kids that aren't the sports kids, that they haven't really found their niche, but they like to do their little YouTube videos or their little performances in their rec rooms at home and this and that. Those are the ones that really do well because they really open up when they're given the material and they're working with the coach. It's the ones that just don't, we could tell that the parents are like, oh yeah, you could do this. And little Johnny's so cute. And everybody always stops us and says, oh, you should do something with little Johnny or little Susie and this and that or whatever. And little Johnny or little Susie does not want to be online or does not want to learn scripts or does not want to do any of this, but you could tell that it's the parents. So that's number one. That's like the biggest thing that we look for. Number two, it's just, honestly, when they're first starting out, it's about their personality. It's not about the fact that they nailed it and they did the lines perfectly. And because almost nobody does it that perfectly, right out of the gate, but it's the personality. There sometimes is a kid that you can tell is a little bit more shy and reserved. And sometimes we'll say no. And then the parents are like, look, I really think that this will help them. When I actually scouted Brianna Eady, she's now Tamika on School of Rock and she's doing great. And This was years ago. She was about 8 years old and she was shy. And the parents said to me, no, we really want her to do this. We think it'll help. And it did, obviously. She's doing really, really well. And people know her. And she's a performer and she sings now and she's amazing. But it depends, Disney and Nickelodeon coined the phrase, the it factor. And that's because they don't know what it is until they see it. And people always say, like you just asked, what do you look for? It's not a specific thing we look for. We're not looking for, Indian boys this age at this time, or just kids in this age bracket at this time. Or, we stick with that age bracket, but or just chubby boys or chubby girl, whatever. We're not looking just for like demographics. It's just a thing that's why we audition kids. It's a thing that we can see, that we can, a vibe, a personality, is something that a light that turns on in them. Those are the ones that we want to work with. And those are the ones that will do well, because you could tell that they want to do it. You can't force this business, because if you force it, it's going to come out sideways and it's not going to work.
What should parents know? Obviously, it's a big commitment for time. What about financially? What should parents know? How expensive is this? And other things that they should be aware of?
That is the biggest misconception. A lot of times parents are like, well, I shouldn't have to pay for this. Well, I'm sorry, but do you not pay for extra lessons for piano or this or that or whatever, or dance and cheering? Cheerleading is like one of the most expensive sports out there. Parents pay $20,000 a year sometimes for these travel competitions. It's not that expensive, but it's not cheap. You have to continue training. You have to update headshots and resumes, let's say every 6 months, because kids grow at a rapid speed. So you could do it conservatively, a couple $100 a month, or you could really throw yourself into it and maybe looking at around 10 grand a year. You don't have to spend 20. I don't think it's, necessarily that it has to be that expensive, but it is a commitment financially. It is a commitment, and more so, like you said, time-wise, but anything that's worth doing, you have to invest time and money and energy and all of that into it. So you could there's parents that I was raised by a single mom and who had a couple jobs, but she made it happen for us in whatever we wanted to do. My sister danced for 12 years and I did what soccer, baseball, this, that, whatever. Anything is a financial commitment and a time commitment, like you said. So you could do it on a couple $100 a month, or you could really throw yourself into it and look around 10 grand a year, anywhere in that spectrum.
Where can people go for more information, Joe?
They can go to the website, societyperformers.com. We have social media. We put everything out there. When we're holding auditions, you can see it on our social media. So if they submitted the form through the website and they send it to us, we'll let them know. Like, we have a online seminar for an audition tonight and tomorrow, and then we'll be done for this week because of Labor Day weekend. But it really just our social media, which is always at Society Performers, and then our website, which is societyperformers.com. And you can stay connected that way.
Terrific. Joe Lorenzo, thank you so much for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now this. It takes a lot of listening to build a better radio, and that's just what the folks at C. Crane have done. Bob Crane and his crew, nestled among the rivers and tallest trees in the world in Fortuna, California, have made a habit of listening to their customers. And that's just what they've done in building the CC Skywave SSB, the Swiss Army knife of portable radios. For everyday listening to AM or FM in the yard or patio or on the nightstand, without having to drain a mobile phone battery, it's a great companion. But it is also a companion equipped for NOAA weather information and alerts that can be life-saving. You can listen to FEMA and Coast Guard transmissions too. Beyond all of that, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world. It's compact, easy to take with you, and built to last. The CC Skywave SSB. Click on the link at Techstination.com.